This episode, I'm going to go through and review my outdoor season from my first race to my last race, everything that happened in between, and also what my goals will be for next season. Welcome to episode 18 of Breaking 11. If you're new here, my name's Harvey. I'm a UK-based sprinter and I was aiming to break 11 seconds in the 100-metre sprint this summer in 2025. Before we get into the outdoor season, we have to touch quickly on the indoor season, which I did a review for, and there'll be a link in the description. Very briefly though, I had a good stint of training throughout the autumn and winter, and then throughout the indoors, I was chipping away at the time and ultimately getting a new PB of 7.12, as well as running 7.15 in the county championship final, which is the fastest I've ever run in the championship final, and also just the fact of making the final, which I hadn't done since 2022. So naturally, coming off the back of a new PB, a lot of momentum from the indoors, I was very, very keen to get started with outdoors. However, something to mention is that at the London Indoor Games, I did tweak my right hamstring during the race and still ran, at the time, a season's best. I then took a couple of weeks to rest and rehab, and that's when I then ran my 11.12 PB. Towards the end of the indoors, and especially at the county champs, I was really starting to feel some pain in my right hamstring. Having gone from a slight tweak, it had now developed into more of a tendonitis. Maybe I got back to it too quick, maybe I didn't give myself enough time to recover, but as I got a PB, I thought I was healthy at the time, so I kept running, and then the pain started to come back. Because of this, I did take a couple of weeks off at the end of the indoor season to rest and recover, and the pain did go down again. However, when I got back into training, I think I hadn't taken enough time off, I hadn't done enough rehab and given it enough time to fully recover. So then as soon as I got into the training for the outdoors in March and April, I was really starting to feel the tendonitis develop. The county champs were in May, so I really wanted to be ready for this. So what I ended up doing is scaling back the volume but keep training at a high intensity to try and carry my speed from the indoors into the county championships. It sort of worked. I opened with an 11.22, which is a tenth of a second faster than I ran last year, and I just missed out on the final by a few hundredths of a second. Then I was sort of in a kind of two-mind situation. I sort of knew that I needed to fully rest, but at the same time, I'd just run really quick. So I carried on for another couple of weeks and did a Southern Athletics League match where I turned up, was disappointed to find there was no electronic timing. So it all became about the points, and I just ran the 100s, shut it down before the finish line and got a hand timed 11.3. And the reason I shut it down was because I was sort of protecting the hamstring. We were going to go for the club record. I then pulled out the 200 and we just missed out on the club record in that Southern Athletics League match by 0.1 of a second. So I was sort of felt like I was being teased with these good times, 11.3 shutdown in my head, hand timed, where it would have been on the stop clock, somewhere from 11.21 to 11.30, because they always round up. I thought maybe, I was in 11.1 high shape at that point. So it's sort of, my PB's 11.08, wind legal, 10.98 with a slight tailwind. I was so close to my PB, I thought, I don't want to just shut the season down, call it a day and, miss out on my chance of a PB or breaking 11. Maybe it would have been the more sensible thing to do. But optimism got the better of me. I then did take a month of very, very, scaled back, low volume training in preparation for the next Southern Athletics League match. And this is where I ran my slowest time I've ever run in 100 meters, 11.96. Not gonna lie, I would have been absolutely devastated if I ran over 12 seconds when I was trying to break 11 seconds. But there was a horrendous headwind of 4.1. So everyone was running half a second slower than they should have been. And because it was such a headwind in the race, halfway through the race, I kind of had a look around. I knew I wasn't going to win. I knew I wasn't going to come worse than second. So I sort of, took my foot off the gas a little bit. Not a full shutdown, but, not an all-out 100% effort either. So at that point, I realised, it's time to take a couple of weeks off. I went on holiday to Portugal, so I had a couple of weeks of full rest and recovery. I didn't do anything, specific in terms of gym, running, stretching, mobility. I literally just rested for 2 weeks. I did stay generally active, some non-weight bearing swimming, some kind of messing around with, pool, table tennis, things like that. But yeah, sort of a proper break, which wouldn't usually happen mid-season. You know, usually that would happen after the indoors or after the outdoors, kind of in March time or September time, usually for me. But I decided I was just going to take that time. And then I did come back, building it up more slowly, focusing a lot more on the physio, introducing the sprinting slowly by introducing grass work, tempo runs, and building it up back to the top speed work. As part of this, I did a 5K time trial, and I also raced a horse. So links to those will be in the description below if you're interested. After sort of building it back up, I then did take another week of holiday in Italy, where I went to a good mate of mine's stag do and wedding. Coming back from Italy, I then was straight back into full sprint training, block starts, time trials, and I did the Stratford Speed GP Open at the Olympic warm-up track in London, where they always run with the wind. It's a really good meet. Although I hadn't, you know, felt like I'd been racing and training and peaking really for a race, I still went along to that, and I ran 11.30, which I was very happy with, but I only did the one race, not the second race, because there was like a 4-hour wait between the races. I think previously they'd done the 100s together and then the 400s, 200s later in the day. Whereas in this one, they decided to do the 200 and the 400 between the 100s. I'm not sure how many people did, you know, a 1 and a 2 and then another 1, or a 1 and a 4 and another 1, or the 2 and the 4 if they're so close together, or however many people did double 100s. But for me, I was, you know, I wasn't close enough to running a PB to warrant hanging around for 4 hours to run a second. You know, I'd have to fully cool down, go and get some food, fully warm up again. And, you know, at the time, it just didn't seem worth it. I wasn't in shape to run a PB or knock on the door of a sub 11. So I thought it would be better, especially as building up from an injury, just to, you know, count my losses and take a little bit of extra rest, not put so much strain on my body straight back from injury. So then it was all focused on the last event of the season, the last Southern Athletics League match, where it was my last chance to run a fast 100 meters and also our last chance to break the club record. We'll get into the club record in a minute, but focusing on the 100 and the training before, I did some block starts, time trial, which was, you know, slow, but, you know, at that point in the season, I'm just fully focused on the actual races, so I didn't look too much into it. Another block start session, and then the main event. I ran an 11.2 in the last 100 meters, and it was sort of a weird timing. Apparently it's electronic, but it's only to 1 decimal place. There was some weird stuff going on with the timing at the last event. They had electronic timing, but for some reason they said it was playing up, so they were hand timing as well. And I remember being shown a sheet of paper that said I ran 11.5 hand timed, but the electronic timing said 11.2. So I'm not really too sure what that means in terms of where it would have been with the second decimal place. If it was a hand timed, I know that if it says anywhere between 11.11 or 11.20, they'd call it 11.2 because they always round up, rather than the more accurate way of, you know, mathematically rounding, where it would be between 11.15 and 11.24. Either way, it's around that 11.2 mark. So it's a season's best. And apart from that one race where I ran into horrendous headwind, every single race that I ran, the 11.22, the 11.3 hand timed, the 11.30 at the Stratford, and the 11.2 electronic timed in the last event, they were all faster than what I ran last year. Every single race throughout, having hamstring tendonitis, everything was faster than last year. So that is a huge positive that I'm taking into next season. I know that if I managed to not get injured or manage that injury better, it would have been a faster year, because I PB'd in the 60 meters, the fastest I've ever been. I just didn't translate that into outdoors because of the injury, and a result of that, not training and racing as much as I should and would like to. So we're going to take the lessons learned from this year into next year, be really, really critical on any niggles and stuff in my body, rather than just sort of ignoring them, hope they get better and making them worse, essentially. But in terms of 100 meters, very positive. I didn't get the sub 11 second 100 meters that I wanted this year. I know that I'm capable of it. I've ran sub 11 before, PB's 11.08, win legal, and coming off the back of a 7.12 PB in the indoors, I know I should have been running sub 11. When I ran 7.14 in the indoors in 2022, that's when I ran my 11.08 PB, and that season itself was a little bit annoying in terms of headwinds. I felt like I always had a headwind or a tailwind that was too strong. I ran a 10.98 windy, an 11.01 windy, an 11.04 windy, 11.08 windy, and then on the same day ran the 11.08 official, which was the day after running 200 meters. You know, all of my fresh, good runs, I felt like either had a tailwind that was too strong or a headwind that was, you know, rendered times not relevant really. So then coming off that 7.12, I knew if I got a little bit more luck with wind, then I'd be looking at that sub 11, but didn't take into consideration getting an injury, not really running that much. You know, I did have a lot of time away this year as well. I had a weekend in Cornwall, a week in Italy, 2 weeks in Portugal, and a weekend in Sicily. So everything was very sporadic in terms of my training, and to be honest, probably the best year to get an injury with all the other stuff I had going on. So yeah, next year, 100 meters, 60 meters, we're going to absolutely smash it. I didn't actually do a 200 meters this year because of the injury. I wasn't able to do those kind of long speed endurance reps that I wanted to. And I didn't want to just run a 200 for the sake of it, you know, especially as we were going for the club record at the Southern Athletics League matches, which is when I would usually run a 200 meters. I was really saving myself for the club record attempts. So yeah, the 200 didn't happen this year, but we'll get that going again next year for sure. Club record. So we are now the holders of the club record for the 4x100 meters. I can't remember how old it was. I think it was 1986. This club record. What's that? 30 years? Yeah, a long time. We had a couple of attempts. The first Southern Athletics League match, after I'd run the 11.3, shut down, hand timed. We then had our first attempt. I was on the second leg, Matt was on the third leg, and I ran past Matt at the changeover. A combination of him not setting off soon enough, me not shouting for him to go, and I ended up overtaking him in the changeover zone, slowing down myself and just sort of holding the baton out for him to then take. But yeah, on that day, we missed out on the record by 0.1 of a second. So we knew with that sloppy changeover, we were definitely on for the record. We then had another attempt where we moved around a bit. I was on the third leg, Matt was on the fourth leg. And I think considering what we did last time, we did the complete opposite. I shouted to go super early. He also left super early and I couldn't catch him. So he had to slow down to get the baton. Again, another sloppy changeover. It's funny because I've, you know, done many relays over the last few years and never had sloppy changeovers. I think because we were going for the club record, we were trying to put ourselves a little bit too much on the limit rather than playing it super safe, which is, I think maybe that's what I've been doing in relays, because it's not really about the time, it's always just about points for the team. But yeah, the third attempt, we kind of had all the issues ironed out. We decided as a team that because our issues had been with me giving the baton and with Matt receiving the baton, it would be best to put me last so I didn't have to give it to anyone, and it would be best to put Matt first so he didn't have to take it off anyone. And it worked. First time, absolutely smashed the record, beat it by 0.3 of a second, again with the weird timing, which was electronic but only to 1 decimal place. So yeah, it would have been nice to know exactly what it was to 2 decimal places, but either way, it's the record, and I'm sure we're going to absolutely smash it again next year. So that was my season. Few ups, few downs, and yeah, definitely a lot to consider going into next season. My targets are going to be exactly the same. I want to break 7 in the 60 meter sprint indoors, and I want to break 11 seconds in the 100 meter sprint outdoors. We're going to continue the series. Breaking 7 will come back for the indoor season training and racing, and then breaking 11 will come back for the outdoor season training and racing. So we're going to take a short break now. I'm going to take, you know, around a month off intense sprint training. You know, I'm sure indoors and outdoors are going to come around very quick. Going to continue making these videos. Very much enjoyed it over the last year or so. You know, received a lot of support from you guys, which I'm very grateful for. We're at over 700 subscribers now at the time of recording. So thank you very much for everyone that supported this channel so far and continues to watch and enjoy these videos. I've got lots planned for next year, lots of new video ideas. Lots of you have come up to me at athletic meets if you've seen me training or racing. It's always great chatting to you guys. You know, I love talking everything sprinting, so yeah, it's good to see, you know, so many people, you know, passionate and excited to train, improve their times and push themselves, see how fast they can run. That's what it's all about. So that's it for this season. See you in training for the winter. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like if you did and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Catch you in the next one.